Hey, scribes. It's me. It's Taiia. I'm here. You're here, and it's Wednesday. Okay, so today's question is your pitch trash? Right? Or as my son likes to say, basura, just straight basura, right? Is it trash or is it basura? So and when I say pitch, I'm talking about the email that you send to. Hey, Jean, let me know. Jean, let me know if I'm delayed on the other end, because I'm definitely delayed on this end and I'm not sure why. Facebook is definitely giving me technical difficulties today. So when I say pitch, I mean, it's the email that you send to an editor to get on a podcast. It's the email that you send maybe to get your book featured. Maybe you want to promote your new work, or maybe you're trying to guest blog. He said no delay on that end. Perfect. Okay, so it's just my end where it's looking crazy. Thank you, Jean. So before I get into all of that and answering the question, the burning question, is your pitch trash? Let me introduce myself to the newbies who will be joining us either live or on the replay. I am Taiia Smart Young. I'm a writer, speaker, author, editor, and I am the face behind the page You're Right with Taiia Smart Young. And I'm passionate about helping newbie writers and authors use their work to create influence, impact, and income, right? And so in order to create some impact with your craft and get published and get seen or be seen as an expert, you have to be able to sell your work. And so a pitch is really part of that. And if you're using your creativity to make money, then you really have to work on perfecting your pitch. Now, if this is just a hobby and you're not concerned about making money, then you got a lot of time to make mistakes. But if we're about getting our work seen, being seen as an expert, making money, then we need to really perfect the pitch ASAP. So I get some hearts because we like cash, right? And I was just about to say, for the people watching live and on the replay, hit the like, hit the heart button. Let me know if you like money, if you like spending it, if you like saving it, if you like me trying to figure out how not to give it to your kid, if you like trying to figure out not how to buy the latest phone or gadget that's coming out. Hit the like button. If you ladies, don't be shy. If you're trying to go in the aisles of Dwayne Reed and not buy another mascara, but that promises to give you long, thick lashes, go ahead and hit those likes. Okay, good. And then the other thing I need you to do is to make sure that you share this video on your timeline so that people who are interested in pitching their work, they get all these tidbits too, right? All right, good. So let's get into it because I have a lot to cover. First up, so the question is your pitch trash? And I'm just going to go ahead and answer that question by saying yes. Hell yes, your pitch is trash. And I'm not saying that to be mean or rude. I'm saying it because as an editor, I've seen a lot of pitches. I have rejected a lot of pitches. I've accepted them. I've written some bad ones myself. So I have a very good intimate relationship with pitches, right? I'm still constantly pitching myself and pitching my work, and people are pitching me for certain things as well. So I know of what I speak with the tips that I'm about to give you guys. Now, let me just say that in this Facebook Live, I'm going to be talking about when it comes to pitching an editor, not pitching a television show. That's a very specific and different kinds of pitch. And there are some screenwriters who are in our scribe tribe. And I probably need to check in with Sun, who is on the West Coast, and have her show up for a special Facebook Live to talk about how to pitch a TV show, or how to pitch a movie. So if you are interested in that, definitely let me know that in the comments so I can reach out to Sun and get that going for a future Facebook Live. Okay, so let me start out with the first way. Hey, Zay, let me start out with the first way that you're going to end, that if you don't do this, you end up getting your pitch ignored. A lot of people forget that the subject line is like the sizzle reel for your email. Whatever is I'm about to open, I need to know that something's good inside, right? So take, for instance, I am a big fan of Stylecaster. Now their emails, because I love how they cover fashion, their emails are like a treat for me, because I know that that subject line is going to have something good. So for instance, I think I opened it up yesterday and they had like 31 jumpsuits to hack your winter wardrobe. I like jumpsuits. It's winter. I got a wardrobe. I like these hacks. I'm going to open it up and figure out what to get what I need from that email, right? They also had another email that said, here are the 20 things you need to buy from Zara right now. Again, I shop at Zara. You've already done the work for me. You told me exactly what I need to get from Zara, so I'm not wandering around the place. A lot of people, a lot of writers forget that this is the place to first sell the person on the other end whatever it is that you're trying to write about, whether it's a personal essay, whether it is a scathing review, whether it is a follow-up to the Surviving R. Kelly documentary. This is your opportunity to use that that subject line to really get someone's attention. Hey, Julia, welcome. All right, so that's first is the subject line, and you know I have my notes. Got lots of notes for you guys. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to make sure that subject line follows this rule. Make it be catchy, clear, and specific. You don't want to get too cutesy and it's like, I don't really know what you're talking about. That's why clarity is really key. So if you're trying to, if you're following the news cycle and you have a story that you want to pitch that is related to the Surviving R. Kelly documentary, because after that documentary came out, it was all over the news cycle. We had it. GMA was covering it. The Breakfast Club was covering it. Red Table Talks did their own Facebook show about it. So you have to be able to get in there and say, okay, you know, I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, and this is how my story relates to the R. Kelly story, or something like that, to make sure it's clear, catchy, and specific. All right. Moving on to number 2, know who you're pitching. There's a human on the other end. This is not the age of dear sir, dear madam, to whom it may concern. Hey girl, no, you're pitching a specific person, and it's not that difficult nowadays to find out who is the section editor, who is the producer for that segment, who produces certain segments. Maybe it's a lifestyle segment that you're trying to get your client booked for, or that you're trying to book yourself for, because you don't have a publicist just yet, because your coin is not quite there yet. But it's not that difficult to find out. Let's say you're trying to find the beauty editor at The Cut. A lot of times nowadays, people put their emails in their social media. I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it on Instagram. I myself, you're able to contact me through Instagram, through email. It's there. It's accessible. If you want to be able to find someone, it's not that difficult. There are a couple services too, like Clearbit, CellHack, and HeadReach. Real easy services. Some of them you can use for free, like maybe up to 10 searches to find someone and to find their email. So you're going to pitch the person directly, and make sure, I've had this happen to me a bunch of times, spell the person's name correctly, right? I know I have a lot of vowels in my name. There are no L's. I have seen emails with Talla. That is not my name. My name is not Tala. My name is Taiia. I still love you anyway, but I feel a little way that you didn't take the extra step to figure out that there are 2 I's in my name and not 2 L's. All right, so moving on to point number 3. Know the publication and know the section that you're trying to pitch. So I remember being at XXL, and a lot of times publicists would try to pitch their R&B acts to be on the cover of a hip hop magazine. It's not going to work, because that's a hip hop magazine, right? It's not just a music magazine like, say, Spin or Rolling Stone, where you can have different artists from different genres on the cover. So it made perfect sense then, if you're trying to pitch. At one point we did have, and it was my column, an R&B column, and you're pitching your artist for that particular column. Makes perfect sense. We also did a spinoff called Hip Hop Soul. Okay, makes perfect sense for you to pitch your artist there, especially if they've had a bunch of collabos with rappers, that kind of thing. So know who you're pitching. Also, know that if you, don't go in trying to pitch a huge story. So say, for instance, you want to pitch to BuzzFeed or Racked or Extra Crispy. you don't need to start with a 5,000 word expose, investigative piece, whatever it is. You can start small. You can start with a 500 word story, a profile. Just don't, I would say, just don't try to cast, I like you to be ambitious, but I think this it's also smart to know that the bigger stories are going to go to people who have either a reputation with that editor, a reputation with that publication, that website. And if you're new, they're not going to just off the bat trust you with 5,000 words. Let me just check in over here and see what you guys are talking about. The elevator, Jean says the elevator pitch is deadly. I mean, it's what you call it. That's just another way of selling yourself. If you happen to be in an elevator with a person, maybe you're in the elevator with your boss, and you want your boss to know about the thing that you're doing in your department, because your department doesn't get any love, or your boss doesn't really know who you are because they're the CEO of the company, but you want to find a way to make that introduction. You got to be able to have that pitch ready to be able to talk about what you're doing and hit the highlights, right? We have increased productivity by 35%. What CEO doesn't want to hear that? Or maybe it's the editor-in-chief of the publication, and you want them to know that you just finished a cover story that is about to drop. So those kinds of things you definitely want to have on the tip of your tongue and at the ready if you're talking to someone. Let me just scroll over here. Does it make sense to pitch for a future story? Absolutely. I'm going to get into that in a second, Jean. So good question. So definitely don't let me forget. The other thing I wanted to say is be able to execute. So for instance, if you're pitching, everybody right now is talking about the Budweiser Super Bowl ad. So if you're pitching Fast Company a story about that Budweiser Super Bowl ad and you offer to interview the creative director, please have the creative director's contact information. Please don't expect that the editor or whoever's on the other end of your pitch is going to provide that information for you. That is part of being a writer. That's part of research. You need to either have it or you need to know how to get it. Same goes for promising any name of any big celebrity. If you don't have it, don't promise it. Or be able to at least finagle your contacts to go ahead and get it. But in my line of work, I like for people to under promise and over deliver. And then 2, be ready. What's the line? Be ready. Because if you stay ready, then you don't have to get ready. So for instance, I remember a long time ago that somebody, I can't remember what company it was, but they were featured, I think, on the Oprah Winfrey Show or in Oprah's Favorite Little Things. And people went to bombard this woman's website, and she was not ready for the onslaught of traffic, and her site crashed. So be ready for that moment when the editor or the producer or the person who's producing the podcast says to you, hey, yeah, we're ready to go with your idea. We'd love to have a conversation with you. When can you get this interview in? You need to be ready, right? You can't be scrambling at this point thinking like, oh my God, I don't have the contact information. I don't know how to reach out. Like, you need to be ready in that moment. Don't have the moment like the woman did where her site crashed because all the traffic started going to her website. Be ready. And show your experience at the end of the pitch. Now is not the time to be shy, but now is not the time to have too much ego either, right? You want to let them know in a sentence or two your experience and drop in maybe 1 or 2 links that shows, hey, I've been published in the New York Times, or I've been published in Extra Crispy, Stylecaster, BuzzFeed, Essence, Latina Parents. Like, you have to show where you've been published. So you just drop those links in and don't make people go digging for it, right? And make sure it's hyperlinked, because I'm not going to go and cut and paste and look at your link. Don't give me extra work to do. People don't like that. And then, so for instance, I wanted to use our fellow scribe, Chriselle, because she's had, I believe, 2 pieces published for Blavity. So someone like Chriselle, if she's trying to get her work featured in maybe it's Inc. or Entrepreneur's website. And she can use her two links that she has to her Blavity stories, especially if they relate to whatever topic that she's covering. So I know one of her Blavity stories was about gerrymandering. So if she's pitching maybe some political story to Politico, then she can drop that link in to her gerrymandering story, and she's good to go. Let's see. Oh, be brief. This is really crucial. I see a lot of pitches that are super long. No one has time for that. Once I see your nice little clear, catchy, and concise subject line, and you've gotten me to open it because now I'm intrigued because you're 75 years old and you're having a baby and you want to write an essay for Sisters of AARP. Okay. Wow. Okay. This is how did she produce this modern medical miracle, right? I want to know more from you. So once I open it up, I don't want to see 10,000 words about your pregnancy. What I want to see is the highlight reel. How did you end up pregnant? You're 75 years old. This is your first kid, blah, blah, blah. Give me the highlights and break it up. Use that space bar, use that return bar to give me some white space in between, because I'm not going to read a long pitch. My rule of thumb is I like a pitch to maybe be about 3 paragraphs long, and it doesn't even have to be that long, as long as you get to the main points. Tell me what it is you want to do, pitch your story, tell me the contact that you have that you're going to talk to, show me your expertise, and show me that you can write in this email, which is really key if you do not have any writing credentials. So let's say, for instance, you have a blog and you want to use your blog as your writing credential. Fine. If you don't have anything, guess what happens? Your pitch then becomes an unofficial writing sample. So if you have issues with grammar, if you have issues with, if you do not have a relationship with commas and apostrophes, which is an egregious problem on social media. People just do not like using apostrophes, which is one of my pet peeves. Like, do not disrespect apostrophes. They are there for a reason. They show possession, right? Don't give me my daughter's birthday without an apostrophe S, because then I'm thinking it's like, how many daughters do you have, right? Because that means plural without the apostrophe. My daughter's birthday with the apostrophe means it's your daughter's birthday, right? I know I went off on a rant, but this is what I mean. That if I see that in your pitch, then I'm going to think, but this person is not really as seasoned as I need them to be in terms of writing. Yes, we make mistakes, but an editor is going to know really quickly in a pitch, if it's poorly written, then they're not going to trust you with 500 words or 5,000 words for that matter, if you cannot nail 100 words in a pitch and make it just as clean as possible in terms of the grammar and the spacing and all that kind of stuff, but more so on the grammar. So I'm wrapping it up, y'all. Okay, so know the difference between having a cold audience and a warm audience. So a cold audience is when you're pitching someone, you don't know who the person is on the other end, so you're really selling hard. A warm audience is maybe this is a contact that you got from a friend or a client or whoever. So they're warm in the sense of you can name drop to get someone's attention. So if you're going to do that, make sure that that's like upfront. Hey, I got your contact information from Gene Sedone. He's my friend. We used to work together at X, Y, and Z. He suggested I contact you about this great pitch that I have, blah, blah, blah. Move on and get into it, right? Don't try to pitch, especially if you are talking to a cold audience, don't try to pitch something new. Like a lot of places have horoscopes. Don't try to pitch them a horoscope section because it already exists. That's not going to work. I don't care if you're trying to get that person's job. You may not be next in line. There's a lot of nepotism that goes on in places. And so you may not be next in line to get that horoscope, to get your horoscope column. And last but not least, if you are trying to, let's say for a self-published author, you're trying to get some attention for your book. You do not always have to pitch your book as a book review. What you can do, and what I have done, is use content from your book and craft it into an essay that fits for the publication. So for instance, I was featured one time on a parenting website because I took a chapter of my book and said, hey, I think this would be a great addition to your site because here's some advice that I give to moms in terms of empowering their daughters. Boom, short pitch. It was a warm audience because I knew the editor from way back in the day. Took maybe 3 days and it was official. I got my story on the site. And at the very bottom, it had my bio, which included the fact that I published this book, the name of the book, and a link to the book. So that's a backdoor way for you to be able to get in. You can also position yourself as an expert on said topic. So for instance, like I said, with the news cycle, everyone was talking about the Surviving R. Kelly documentary. So if you have a book about surviving sexual abuse, sexual trauma, then you can use that to get on to have someone say, okay, well, I want to talk to Brenda Lee because she wrote this book about surviving sexual abuse. And we can't necessarily do an excerpt of her book, but what we can do is use her as a voice in terms of people that we're talking to. We can use her story. We can get her expertise. And that is another way to get in, to use your pitch to get in. So I've been talking way too long as usual. Let me just scroll and see what you guys are talking about. Jean, I want to make sure I answer your question about making sense to pitch a future story. So you're always pitching a future story, right? You're always trying to stay ahead of whatever is going on. You're trying to think of new ways to present the same information. So if you have a really specific question about meaning in terms of the story, let me know so I can answer that question better. Christopher Murphy says, do you have any tips for unpublished writers pitching a novel? How could I possibly handle that? Let's see. For unpublished writers pitching a novel, do you mean you're pitching the novel to an agent, Christopher? Are you pitching it to, you're trying to get an editor's attention? Because they're two different things, and I want to make sure that I'm answering the question correctly. Because for, if you're, like, say for instance, if you're pitching your book to an editor, a lot of times editors don't want unsolicited manuscripts. They want you to have your manuscript sent to your agent, and your agent then fields it to them. There are some exceptions to that rule where houses do open it up and they say, oh, they might have a contest, or they might say, yeah, we're accepting unsolicited pitches at this time. So in that case, you're sending a query letter to the publisher, and even a query letter to an agent that you're trying to get interested in your book. And for that, you need to really, there's a resource called agentquery.com, agentquery.com. Use that to look up agents and find the agent who specifically works with the book, the kinds of book, or the kind of book that you're writing. So if you're writing sci-fi, if you're writing chick lit, romance, contemporary fiction, you want to find, or young adult, middle grade fiction, you want to find the agent who is working on those kinds of things, because you'll have agents that have certain areas of expertise. Maybe it's strictly nonfiction and all they want to do is cover health books. Memoirs, celebrity books written by celebrities, then your pitch is not going to work in terms of connecting with that audience. So make sure that you're directing it to the right person. So that's a great question. That's a great question, Christopher. Thank you. Meaning, how else can I show my expertise? Christopher, I mean, if you have a blog, Christopher, then that's a way to show your expertise. If you have any kind of writing samples, any kind of links, anywhere that you can direct an editor to show your expertise, you can go ahead and do that. If you do not, then you really have to craft a strong pitch. It has to be bulletproof. And when I say bulletproof, it has to make me, I can't wait to open up this email. I can't wait to find out more about this story. So, and don't think that you're going to nail it on the first try. It does take a couple of tries. So, Christopher, if you have a pitch that you would like me to review, definitely send me a direct message and I'll review it. And what you call it. And if you don't mind, we can discuss it here in another Facebook Live. But I'd love to take a look at a pitch for you. And actually, you can I'll drop a link to my calendar. So if you want to jump on my calendar, Christopher, you can absolutely do that as well. Let's see. Hey, Tiff. Hey, Melissa. Okay. So Christopher says yes to an agent. So Christopher, so I did answer your question in terms of pitching directly to an agent. And so don't forget that you have to hone in specifically on the agent that covers what you're looking for. If you're looking for, like I said, middle grade fiction, young adult, sci-fi, if you're writing a memoir, if you have a scandal. I love a scandal. Keep me in the loop about that. So there are people who are just the same way that writers have beats, and they cover anything from politics to beauty to entertainment, etc. The same thing goes for an agent. So I have talked enough, you guys. If you don't have any questions and you joined us late, remember that I always go back to the replay and I look at questions and I answer them there. Hey, Tiff, no worries for coming late. I appreciate you for showing up anyway. You are never tardy to this party, okay? Because T always is ready to hear from you, Tiff. So I hope that you guys are doing good things this week in terms of your work. I forgot what next week's topic is going to be. I have to look at my calendar. But if you guys want to jump on my calendar and have your free creative clarity call, you know that is available to you. A one-time only service. And I actually have a bunch of people that are scheduled to talk to me tomorrow and Friday. So you guys have been busy with your creative projects for 2019. And I'm so happy to hear about that. So we've talked about pitches. We talked about ways to avoid them being straight trash, straight basura. So if you would like to send me your pitch, get on my calendar. We can talk about that. Christopher, I would love to be able to read your pitch. If you want to, like I said, DM me or get on my calendar. I am here for you. I will chat with you guys next week. Take care.